Today's video is one that many of you have requested. We review Rich Roll's vegan chat with Rhonda Patrick. Roll the titles.
For the record, I'm done trying to make y'all comfortable. For the record, you ain't trying to grow, then it's done for you.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. As always, just a quick reminder that I'm now offering the SIBO, organic acid, stool tests and consult via my website. So if you have any health or digestive problems, then consider taking these tests, as they will provide a lot of very detailed information upon which you can start making informed decisions and then start getting your health back on track. And on that bombshell, to the video.
So training for it, diet, getting back to the vegan, aspect of it. It seems most people would think, vegans, wow, wouldn't they? They don't get enough, certain micronutrient deficiencies, iron or, protein, things like that. So can you talk a little bit about how conscientious you are of what you're eating and your levels of certain micronutrients? And
I believe this video was filmed pre-pandemic, but it still blows my mind that vegans are still getting these types of questions. The indoctrination runs deep, hey?
Yeah, sure. I don't overcomplicate it. Like I get people send me these emails all the time, like, tell me your ratio of this to that. And I'm like, I don't even think it, it's very simple. Like I eat a lot of whole plant-based foods as close to their natural state as possible. That's like general rule number one.
That's a pretty good rule number one, I would say. Have a pizza and a glass of wine, but these treats should be exactly that, treats. Always aim for 80 to 90% of your calories coming from whole plant-based foods that are as close to their natural state as possible.
And when I was, beginning to train, like I was just listening to my body and trying to, meet its needs as I saw fit in the moment. So I wasn't following some kind of recipe or guide.
I like this a lot, but one thing that I will say to new vegans, whether it be for the first 6 or 12 months, monitor your nutrition using something like a chronometer. Until you have a good steer on where your calories and nutrition are coming from, then don't necessarily go with your gut feeling. Be a bit more strategic and plan your meals so you are not getting caught out and setting yourself up for failure. A healthy vegan diet is straightforward to follow, but it will take a bit more thought when you first transition.
But essentially, I start my day usually with a Vitamix smoothie, that starts with a base of dark leafy greens. Like it always starts with that. So spinach, kale, things like that, chard.
Look, you know what I'm going to say here? Enjoy spinach and even enjoy spinach in a smoothie occasionally. But please don't do this daily. A spinach smoothie will often contain massive amounts of oxalates. Doing this regularly increases your chances of running into health issues, with kidney stones being one of the most common issues. And from there, it kind of builds, pre-workout beet greens are always good. Berries, blackberries, blueberries, berries with high antioxidants, maybe some apple or orange. And then, some of the more exotic superfoods, hemp seeds, ground flax seeds, pepitas, which are high in iron. That's one thing. Everyone worries about your iron levels. So, I make sure I, eat seeds that are high in iron. Yes, absolutely. They are all excellent sources of nutrition and will make a good start to any day, providing you are getting sufficient calories for your body's requirements.
And I keep it simple. Like, I have 4 kids. We're busy. We're doing a million things. I open up the fridge in the morning. I don't know what I'm going to find, so a lot of times it's just improvising with what we have. And I usually find though that gets me out of the door in the morning before my morning workout. If I'm really hungry, some gluten-free toast with almond butter or something like that is fine. And then I'm good. I can go out and I train. I come back, I'll drink the second half of that smoothie or make a different one. I'll supplement with some plant-based protein powders.
So many of you know I'm not the biggest fan of protein powders for the average healthy vegan. That being said, Rich Roll is not an average vegan. If you are an endurance athlete or a bodybuilder, then it may make sense to substitute some of your calories with things like protein powders. I say this because if you need to eat above 3,000 to 4,000 calories a day to fuel your body, then you may run into digestive issues at some point. The human body is amazing and it can process 10,000 calories a day, but it doesn't necessarily mean it should. People assume because fruits and vegetables are healthy, there are no consequences to overnutrition, and this is not true. And it doesn't matter if you have the best digestion in the world, at some point putting too many calories and fiber into the gut will cause a problem.
But I don't I've had a whole journey with supplements, and we can get into that. I don't overdo it with that at all. When I first began, I was so worried about all of these things, like, oh, you're going to be deficient in all these things. And I had all kinds of crazy supplements. And over the years, I've kind of weaned myself off of those and thought, do I really need these? Are these really working? Am I spending my money, responsibly?
Totally agree. There is no substitute for getting good nutrition from food.
And I found that for the most part, I don't need most of those things that I thought that I did, including protein powder. I really don't even do that much of that. Lunch is usually a huge salad, with lots of raw vegetables in it, or perhaps quinoa and beans. I eat lots of beans, lots of black beans of different kinds, lentils, quinoa, things that are sort of plant-based foods that are higher in protein content than other plant-based foods.
Lentils are really high in iron as well.
These are all excellent staple foods on a plant-based diet. And I love the fact that he said he steered away from over-supplementing.
Yeah, you can go to Trader Joe's and they have packets of pre-cooked lentils. Sometimes they're $2, so I go in there and just grab those for lunch for a quick snack. Veggie burritos. My wife's an amazing cook, so she's made it a lot easier.
Is your whole family vegan?
Our whole family is now.
I wonder if Rhonda will have a sly dig at the fact that his kids are vegan.
That's been a journey in its own right, with the kids and everything like that. But now they are. It wasn't always that way.
I bet she was itching to say something there.
I don't overthink things. When I'm training and I'm going out on a long ride, I try to bring a lot of whole foods with me, or, know places where I can stop to pick up bananas. Dates are always good. Almond butter again, or maybe an almond butter sandwich I'll bring with me in my back pocket. Liquid nutrition in the form of a maltodextrin. You can get 900 calories in one bottle.
And just because you can, it doesn't mean that you should. Rich Roll is intelligent. He does this because of the demands he puts on his body, and not necessarily because it's the healthiest thing to do.
So what about vitamin D? Is that something that you...
I don't really worry about vitamin D, and I get my levels, my blood checked and everything. My vitamin D is fine, but I'm outdoors training a lot.
I love that she is constantly probing to try and find his weak spot.
So, I would imagine that takes care of itself by exposure to the sunlight. I do supplement with vitamin B12. But a lot of the foods that I eat too are also vitamin B12 fortified. So I don't get too crazy worried about that either. And my B12 levels are fine.
So put that in your pipe and smoke it, Rhonda.
So you're obviously have the luxury of living in Southern California. You're still, young. You have lighter skin. So, there's a lot of things that regulate the ability of your body to produce vitamin D from UVB radiation from the sun. Are there, are there other vegetarians or vegans that sort of come to you for a template or a guide? And do you have anything that you tell them usually? Because it can be a problem for vegetarians, vegans.
His response here needs to be, it can be a problem for everyone, regardless of their diet.
I think deficiencies are a problem for everyone. And I think it's endemic, especially since our soils are being progressively depleted and the foods maybe aren't quite as nutrient dense as they used to be. And so I think I encourage everybody to go get their blood checked and see where they're at with everything, because it is such an individual thing. And if you are in a northern climate or, a place where you're not going to get a lot of sunlight, of course, vitamin D can become a problem and you should supplement.
He is handling himself here very well, as you would expect, but she is trying to catch him off guard with some really stupid questions.
So I'm not against supplements, but I think that the approach should always be that they're supplements. They should supplement the diet that you're eating, right? They shouldn't come in the place of the food. But I think that, if you're deficient or you're prone to one of those kinds of deficiencies, of course, I think it's appropriate.
It's so refreshing to hear sensible people on the internet. No urine drinking, water fasting, or some of the other nonsenses that we have heard over the last few years.
I don't know that vegans and vegetarians have a higher incidence of vitamin D deficiency than anybody else. You may know more about that than I do.
Vitamin D inadequacy is pretty prevalent in the United States. Around 70% of the population doesn't have what's considered to be adequate levels. It's not quite deficient.
She best not try and make the vegan claim here.
Deficiency versus inadequacy, there's a little difference. But I don't know if vegetarians or vegans and or if they take the supplemental vitamin D3 form, which is commonly, it's lanolin, which is excreted from like the sebaceous glands of like sheep, so when they're making wool. Is that something you would take, or is that like against the vegan rules?
Come on, Rhonda, do some basic research before asking questions like this.
I don't know if the sheep get harmed or anything.
Right. Yeah. I don't know enough about that. I probably wouldn't take that. So I would look, I try to make sure that if whatever I am taking in is vegan in its origin.
So it can't come from animals, even if the animal's not dying, or...
She might as well ask him, so Rich, you're vegan, you can eat the occasional egg, right?
Yeah, well, I have to know specifically in each instance how that works. And the road gets narrower. You know what I mean? Like certain things you used to do, then I'm like, because it's different for me now. Like it's been an evolution. And I think that this is kind of an important point, which is there's this idea that certain people out there are like struck vegan overnight. I don't know anybody for whom that is the case. Like for everybody, it's a journey. So
true. It's about trying to do the best you can within your life situation and not trying to live up to norms or perceptions.
It's like it's something that you evolve into if you're inclined, or if that's something that interests you. So the things that I'm sort of focused on now are different than they were in 2008 or when I began. Mm-hmm. So for me, I've become a lot more interested in other aspects of this lifestyle that originally weren't that interesting to me. And that's a whole other discussion. But, and now also, I'm sort of this ambassador of of vegan athletes in some regard, for better or worse. So I think it's important for me to kind of, hold that space and to say like, yeah, I can do it without all these things. So you can too. So I can go out and be 100% vegan, 100% plant-based, and not ingest any animal products into my diet and do these crazy endurance races.
I will say it again, how refreshing is it when people don't talk crap on the internet?
As just a point of contradiction to conventional wisdom, so that other people can look at that and infer from that as they wish.
Amen to that. And as the saying goes, you can't tell somebody the truth, they have to learn it. All in all, good conversation, despite some nonsense questions from Rhonda. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Anyhow, that's the end of today's video. If you enjoyed this one and you want to learn how to fix gut issues, then be sure to check out this one up here, because I'm sure you'll find it equally interesting. And the only other thing that's left for me to say is to remember to look after your body, because it's the only place you have to live. And I'll see you next time.